Welcome back to the Happiness Games for Romantic Relationships. I'm Zhao Martins, licensed marriage and family therapist, couples therapist. I often see in my couples therapy sessions that one of the partner likes to protest, saying my partner doesn't listen to me. I don't want them to solve my problems. I just want to be heard and validated for my experience, especially my emotional experiences. And the other partner also says, well, I will also like to be heard for my point of view, even though that comes in the form of problem solving, fixing. It is valid, my perspective, and I would like my partner to take in my input so I feel like I matter in this relationship. So I give more thought about this dynamic, and I noticed there are a whole lot of theories that back up with what I'm going to tell you today. So I'm going to break it down, when and how I got influenced by different theories in psychology. So if you're interested and if you're brainy, you like to research like me, you can go ahead, Google it, and ask ChatGPT to get more informed about those theories and practices. So I don't remember if I read it from the System Center Therapy website or it's my mentor and my trainer from System Center Therapy keeps telling me that we all have different propensities. We have our tendencies. Some people are more drawn to similarity. Other people are more drawn to differences. But that based on my own exploration, and I'm also influenced by internal family systems and other parts work, that theories that I constantly look at my parts or different aspect of my psyche, I notice that there's a part of me that's drawn to similarity and there's another part of me that's drawn to differences. And I also can see that being very similar experiences for my clients. The example I have is if a partner say, I want to be joined on my similarity. I want you to hear me, reflect me, understand what I'm saying, and also share your similar experiences so I don't feel alone. That's coming from the part of the client that wants to be joined on similarity. But often the same client will say, well, but, what's coming after the but is actually a difference. And we all have this tendency to bring in a difference too quickly and too big a difference for the other person to chew on. Then the other person close their boundary and they cannot hear you anymore. So actually, we all have a part of us want similarity. We want to be joined on similarity, and another part really want to stay our difference so we can be seen and validated as a separate individual. And based on my understanding and learning about our identity development and our social emotional development, we go through stages. The majority of us human beings, when we were 2, we start to show our preferences. So that's why we say no all the time to assert ourselves. When we go to a preschool age, like 3 or 4, when I used to work in preschool settings as a consultant, early childhood mental health consultant. So I will see the little kids, a lot of time girls, when their social aspect are developing faster or earlier than boys, a lot of times, start to form these little groups where they dress similarly, they'll wear their frozen outfit, or they have similar interests. They all like to color, or they have similar songs they prefer, and they like to be validated in their experience, knowing I belong somewhere because of who I am. I also like pink. I also like Play-Dohs. I also like coloring. I also like K-pop Demon Hunter. So therefore, I belong to this group of friends. We all share the same preferences and experiences, so they don't feel alone. And that is when we start to form groups for little kids. And at some point, when they develop into more a teenager time from 12 and up, depends on each individual, there's a part of us really want to stand out, to be different. Even though we still join different groups, we may try different identities, different groups, but there's a huge part of us want to be different from our family of origin. See, if the family of origin, we're Asians, we always eat noodles for dinner. And then maybe at the time, this teenager would like to eat something totally different and say, I'm vegetarian now. I'm vegan. I want to be different from you so I can explore if this is part of my identity. So that's why I often name the part I wanted to be joined on Similarity, say, me too, me too, me too. Yes, yes, me too. Is a younger part, I think about like a 3 or 4-year-old, and the part of me that's saying, I'm different, this is me, I have a difference you want to hear? That is more like a teenager, say 13 or 14-year-old part of me. I'm curious about my viewers, and what are your experiences when you get in touch with a part of you that want to say, yes, yes, me too, and versus the I'm different, this is who I am, I want you to see me, if there have a relevant age gap and differences there. So as you see, well, another influence from the system-centered therapy training, that in different contexts, different part of us, different aspect of us may show up, and they have a different function. They are asking for something different. Either they want to feel belong, or they want to be validated for their individuality. I also like to look at things from the culture perspective, another context, because we'll come from different family backgrounds or sometimes ethnicity and culture and class. So from Asian culture, we really validate being similar to each other. We wanted to be fitting in, and there's an emphasis on being there's an emphasis on being the common, usual, very average person, that you don't want to stand out too much because being too different could be eliminated. But in Western culture, as I observe, at least in the United States, there's such encouragement for individuality, originality, creativity, which explains why the technology in America is so advanced, that's really leading the world, and especially in Silicon Valley. There's protective laws and structures in place also to foster this creativity, so people can take more risks and really call out to the world, this is who I am. I have a new creation. I have something new I want to show to the world to benefit everyone. This is really wonderful. And culturally, there's a two difference concept and mindset. So the part of fitting in is more encouraged in Asian culture in general, and the part that stands out and be who you are and is more encouraged, be different in the Western world, in the US, at least from my observation. And each of them have their own merit and challenges. So a lot of my clients are like me, or immigrants from China or from other part of Asia, where we were educated to be fitting in, blending in, joining on similarities, and hide our individual differences. But when we come to this world in the US, individuality and differences are highly encouraged. There's a part of us get freed up, like the teenager part, say, well, finally we are seen, we can be different, and it's okay to be different. But then there's another part that's been living and integrating the value in Asian culture, that to fit in, to be similar. And so those two parts could potentially having conflicts, we call internal conflicts. And we also could project onto our partner, so we can fight them instead of finding what's inside of us, which can equally be entertaining in my perspective. So when they are in couple therapy, what I see is that apparently they are taking different positions to fight each other, but what is really happening is a young part of one partner is fighting the other young part of the other partner. There could be age difference for their young parts, and they get into what we call a roadblock, and they get stuck and then cannot resolve it, and then they feel disconnected. So the last part I want to give it to you is based on developmental model that's developed by LMFT from the Couples Institute, each relationship also goes through developmental stages, just like us individuals, from babies, infancy, toddler to preschooler, school age, and tweens, teenager, and young adults. We go through this upward, sometimes staggering upward movement of progression. Relationships start with the baby stage, where people tend to join on similarities. Well, if you're using a dating app, that's even more prevalent. You select someone to swipe right. Generally, it's because something you feel resonating, you are similar to them. Either what you're looking for or their hobbies, right? Something what they said on their dating app really hit you, resonated with you, or you like how they look, right? That's also a similarity. You have similar, they fit your standard of beauty. Then as your time goes, the honeymoon period start to fade. You're entering at another stage of development, which is differentiation. That's when people start to show different aspects of them more. In my opinion and learning, is there teenager or a slightly older part of them to show up and saying, this is who I am. Are you accepting me for who I am? And when they have a different opinions, even on food preferences or activities, sometimes people can take very personally saying, but this is who I am. That's my boundary, that if you are not the same, we can't be together, where we're going to have a big problem. So this is actually a really calling for everyone to do your personal work, to integrate different aspects of you, to be more aware of, are you coming from a place of wanting similarity or wanting difference? And what does it mean for each of you when you come from that place? And really listen to that part of your voice. What is the message? What's the healing that calling for you? So you can embrace them. While in this process with someone that you're still getting to know, you're getting to know aspects and parts of them. The whole process is very exciting and invigorating for me, as that really encourages us to be honest with ourselves, with the other person, and to better ourselves and to grow in the process. Nothing is more welcoming for growth than being in a long-term relationship where you are encountered with a lot of differences. So in the end of the video, I will have an announcement. Today is my personal assistant, Rock Team's wedding day. He lives in Bangladesh, and this is his beginning of a new journey. I wish you all the joy, peace, curiosity, and gratitude in your new stage of life with your wife. I will see you next week, my friends.